Hello, historians! Have you ever heard the weatherman describe a big storm? The kind of storm that occurs when two different weather systems collide. Although unusual, sometimes different factors can come together to create a perfect economic storm. In the 1970s, a number of economic storms came together and wreaked havoc on the American economy. So, in today's lesson, we're going to track the different economic storms Americans faced in the 1970s, the oil embargo, and the decline in American manufacturing. Once we've tracked each of these smaller storms, we'll look into the way they came together to create the perfect storm. We'll complete checkpoints along the way to help track each economic storm. So grab your PDF because we're headed to the 70s. The 1973 oil embargo is the first economic storm we're going to chase down. An embargo occurs when one nation restricts trade with another nation. Let's look at how it all got started. In 1973, the Yom Kippur War broke out between Israel and a number of Arab nations. Soon after, President Richard Nixon requested aid to support Israel in the conflict. At the time, the US bought much of its oil from members of OPEC, a coalition of nations that produced a large portion of the world's oil. Many of the OPEC members were Arab nations, some of which were at war with Israel. So, in response to Nixon's request for support of Israel, OPEC cut oil production and restricted oil imports to the United States. The oil embargo increased oil prices by 300% and caused gas shortages in the United States. Now that we've tracked down the causes of the oil embargo, let's log the data in your checkpoint before getting any closer to this storm. Oil was a key resource in the production and transportation of goods and services. So the oil embargo made producing and shipping goods and services more costly because there was less oil available and it was now much more expensive. Since resources had become more expensive, companies produced fewer goods and services. This made the price of the things that businesses produced even higher. But it also changed the types of products sold and the materials used in those products. Remember from the previous lesson, we learned the clothing industry shifted towards polyester clothing, a much cheaper resource than cotton. Sounds like businesses are dealing with some strong blowback from the oil embargo. How do you think high gas prices impacted average people in the United States? The oil embargo's impact on individuals and families was most clearly felt at the gas pump. In the 1970s, the average American experienced long lines at the pump, high gas prices, and at times, even out-of-gas signs. But the oil embargo caused even bigger problems. As costs for businesses increased and production of goods and services slowed, the price of common necessities, such as groceries, also increased. Price increases in gas, energy, and groceries forced individuals and families to cut things from their budget so they could get to work, heat their home, and put food on the table. To deal with the price increases, some people decided to take a second job, and a large number of women entered the workforce so their families would have an additional income. At the same time, many people sought cheaper options, such as fuel-efficient cheaper cars. High gas prices have left many people in the cold. Let's document the effects of the oil embargo by completing the next checkpoint. In response to the oil embargo, President Nixon tried a number of different tactics to get the nation through the crisis. For example, the government issued fuel rations to the public, required companies to make more fuel-efficient products, and speed limits were lowered across the country to conserve gasoline. The government also began stockpiling and increasing domestic production of oil, and offered different incentives to companies that invested in the development of alternative energy. Despite all of these different measures, oil prices continued to cause damage to the economy into the early 1980s. Before we chase down the next economic storm, we need to complete the last checkpoint for this section. As the oil embargo ravaged the economy, another storm was gathering strength: a decline in American manufacturing. American manufacturing refers to the process of producing physical goods in the United States. Remember, the oil embargo increased the cost of resources, causing companies to slow down the production of goods. But at the same time, economies around the world, particularly in Japan and countries in Europe, had recovered from World War II, which increased competition for American businesses. So by the mid-1970s, American businesses were dealing with higher costs and increased competition, which made it harder for companies to be profitable. In response to these changes, companies sought ways to save money in other areas. Some businesses cut labor costs by investing in new technologies, which resulted in fewer American workers involved in the production of goods. For example, companies automated certain tasks by introducing robotics into the production process. Other companies moved production overseas to countries with cheaper labor and fewer regulations, which resulted in fewer factories in the United States. In the long run, these strategies helped American companies produce goods more cheaply and easily, which eventually increased profits for companies and lowered prices for consumers. But in the short run, the same strategies resulted in fewer factories and workers producing goods in the United States, which contributed to a decline in American manufacturing. This is a good place for a snack break while we complete this section's first checkpoint. Remember, the US had been the manufacturing center of the world during the post-war period, so a decline in American manufacturing caused the unemployment rate to increase and begin to shift the American economy toward other industries, such as retail, banking, and healthcare. The loss of manufacturing jobs made it even harder for some families to handle the general rise in prices occurring across the economy. The Great Lakes region, which once had been a vibrant manufacturing center of the world, became known as the Rust Belt, as more and more factories were closed and people moved away. As companies and people left, cities lost important tax revenue. This increased urban poverty and made it difficult for cities to offer some basic services to its citizens, such as policing and trash removal. The decline in American manufacturing is picking up speed and whipping through cities. Let's plug the data into the next checkpoint before we get blown away. Once again, the government tried to step in and reinforce the economy. First, the government protected American manufacturers from foreign competition by restricting trade. The Nixon administration increased taxes on foreign goods and limited the amount of these goods coming into the United States. These policies made foreign goods more expensive in the United States, with the hope that consumers would buy American-made goods instead of foreign goods. Next, the government increased funding for research and development of technologies to help companies become more efficient and profitable. The Nixon administration and Congress also wanted to help workers affected by the decline in American manufacturing. The government offered job training to help unemployed factory workers transition to new technical roles and, at times, new careers. Before we chase down the perfect storm, let's wrap things up here by completing this section's last checkpoint. By the mid-1970s, the oil embargo and the decline in manufacturing had caused high prices and high unemployment, which contributed to a perfect economic storm. Economic activity just inched forward, little by little, like a giant, slow-moving storm. Eventually, people referred to it as stagflation, as in stagnant economic growth combined with high inflation. The decline in manufacturing and the oil embargo contributed to higher prices and inflation, as well as increased unemployment, which characterized stagflation in the 1970s. This is pretty unusual. Typically, as unemployment rates increase, prices decrease. So, as stagflation struck the 1970s economy, the government struggled to handle all the different issues. If you want to know more about inflation, unemployment, and stagflation, check out Mia Prep's economic course. Unit 6 of that course has a number of lessons that explain the economic principles in full detail. Before we wrap up, let's complete the checkpoint for stagflation. By the mid-1970s, it was clear that the post-war boom was over. Businesses were changing, work was changing, and the choices that some families had to make were changing. The crises of the 1970s would end in the early 1980s, but as we'll see in the next unit, Americans would face new challenges. After all, people are always making history. Hey, hey.